This is Rob Tubber for ID Boxing. Delighted to be joined by George Warren. We're here at the Tyson Fury Derek Chisora 3 press conference at the lovely Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sorry about that, George. I know you're an Arsenal fan, but it's a very lovely place.
It is. It's nice here, isn't it? You've got to give them credit. It's a lovely, lovely stadium. But the football's no good.
Well, yeah, we'll start. I'm a Chelsea fan as well, so we have a mutual disdain for being here. Going to burst into flames on the way out. But Tyson Fury defends his WBC and lineal heavyweight titles against Derek Chisora. Talk to us about the fight.
I think it's an interesting fight. I think you know what you're going to get with Derek. He comes, he tries, he throws bombs. He's going to be fit. He's going to be active. It is, without a doubt, his last opportunity, I think, to win a world heavyweight title. I expect Tyson to be emphatic in his win. I think he will do the business. I think that is what he is. He's world class. I don't think anyone right now in heavyweights touches Tyson. So I think what people can expect is an entertaining night, which is what you always get with Tyson Fury. We're going to have a big crowd here. It's going to be a fun atmosphere, big party, great undercard. Daniel Dubois, Kevin Lerena, really, really interesting fight. A lot of people are sleeping on Kevin Lerena. I quite liked his confidence and his charisma at the press conference today. He's I think he's here to upset things, and Daniel's got to be really, really focused, do the job, let his power get to him. I'm sure he will. He's been looking great in the gym with Shane. Shane's really, really happy with everything as far as, I've been hearing back from the guys. So let's just enjoy it. It's going to be a great night.
Let's talk about the main event. Let's go back a few weeks. How do we land on Derek Chisora? There was, of course, the man over there, Alex Krasiuk, who represents Oleksandr Usyk. The Anthony Joshua fight was kind of spoken about again. How did you land on Derek Chisora?
Because Usyk wasn't available in December as originally planned. That was always what the intention was. We had, a principled agreement in place to do it in December out in the Middle East. Obviously, I think the Usyk fight with Joshua was meant to be in July. That got pushed to August, and when that got pushed to August, Usyk asked for a bit more time, which I get, accepted. Tyson turned around and said, I want to fight. Spoke about a few names. He then went very public with who he wanted to fight, being AJ. We tried incredibly hard to make that fight. Spent a lot of time. Won't go over old ground on what went wrong, but it didn't happen, which is disappointing. And so our job then is to deliver for our fighter. We have a governing body whose ratings we have to respect. You go through that list. We have to take into consideration availability, marketability. Is it going to sell? Is it going to be attractive? And this fight made most sense for a number of reasons. So that's why we're here.
Do you understand some of the criticism around the fight, considering Tyson Fury had already had those 2 resounding wins over Derek Chisora? I
think that the difference, though, is if he doesn't have a voluntary against someone like Derek, firstly, who does he then have a defence against? Like, I hear people say kind of, random names, and whilst within the boxing fraternity, they might be solid opponents that people consider as attractive fights for, the likes of you and I, Rob, to watch. But the man on the street isn't necessarily going to buy a ticket for them because they're not known. And with all due respect to those guys, they need to work on their marketability, their promotional capacity as athletes to get those opportunities. That's part of the element. That's part of the fight game. Whether people like it or not, you have to be attractive at the gate and at the box office to get big opportunities. And Derek is.
You mentioned kind of the commercial side of things and the marketability side of things. I think myself, when the fight was announced, one of the things that I didn't want to see was kind of a lot of panto and fake beef and this, that and the other. We haven't had that. How does that impact on the marketability and the commercial success of the fight?
Well, we've sold nearly 60,000 tickets. We will have, I think, 60,000 in here on Saturday night. I think we've got a few hundred still to go. We'll know sooner rather than later if we're right. I think the gate's showing that it's not bad. I think that 60,000 tickets on the 3rd of December when it's cold and outdoors shows that we must be doing something right.
What about the impact of the World Cup? No Premier League, of course, BT Sport having the Premier League, a great opportunity to cross-promote fights on there. That isn't there for this. The World Cup is taking everybody's attention, as it always does. How does that impact on a fight of this magnitude?
Makes us have to work harder. We've got to work harder to capture that noise. Luckily for us, we've got the greatest promoter in boxing in Tyson Fury being on the main event. So that kind of helps. You always know you're going to get headlines. He is an attraction like no one else that I've ever seen. And he's a pleasure to work with. We're fine. We'll be okay.
His last 4 fights, he's done Las Vegas twice, he's done Wembley Stadium, he's done Tottenham Hotspur. But of course, that wasn't the Tyson Fury who signed with Queensberry ahead of that fight with Sefer Seferi a number of years ago. Just describe, if you can, the journey that you've been on together.
The greatest journey that I've certainly been involved with. I think even my dad would say it's probably the greatest journey he's been involved in boxing. Yeah, you're right. Tyson did what a lot of people didn't think he would do in that fight against Klitschko. You have to even remember we signed Tyson when we still had Derek in their first fight, and he was sensational that night against Derek Chisora. A lot of people criticising this fight on that performance. Derek's absolutely adamant that he's improved since then, and I think a lot of people would say that he has. I think wins against guys like Kubrat, Pulev believe that, and he's got to turn up and show that he deserves to be a dancing partner for Tyson on Saturday night. But in terms of the journey, it's just like it's like a Hollywood movie story to go from where he was, that depression, the mental health issues that he's had, the comeback fights in Manchester, the rainy night that we had in the summer in Windsor Park, all the way out to Vegas, firstly by the Staples Center in LA. That was the first one against Wilder, which was still one of the most insane fights I've ever seen. I still cannot believe that he got up from the canvas in that 12th round. And everything else is history, as they say. He is a one-off.
Now, of course, coming into this fight, I mean, while I'm sure Tyson is not looking past Derek Chisora, your role as part of the promotion has to look at what potentially comes next. That man over there, Alex Krasiuk, he spoke to me yesterday and said that you guys have been in regular communication, sometimes twice a day, with regards to an undisputed fight in the new year. Where are we with that?
I think we'll get it done. There's no, I think from the perspective of Queensberry and Top Rank, we work with Top Rank obviously with Tyson, and with Usyk's team, with K2 and with Aegis. We're all aligned, we're all very, very confident we'll get this done. Hopefully we'll have some news very soon.
We saw in the last couple of weeks the IBF calling the mandatory in Filip Hrgovic. We saw comments from Filip Hrgovic, I think today on Sky Sports, asking for the IBF to implement an immediate purse bid. They said they weren't interested in negotiations. Is that just politics? Do you think there's any chance of that scuppering in the undisputed fight?
No, I don't think there will be. I don't see the IBF stopping this fight happening. I think they'll be supportive. All the governing bodies have rules and regulations that allow for unifications and for undisputed fights to happen. You have to go through a process. I get what Matchroom and Wasserman are doing. I don't blame them for trying to get their guy in that shot. But that heavyweight division has been working on a very successful and, I would say, balanced rotational system for some time, since obviously Joshua fought and defeated Klitschko. You've seen that round robin of mandatory defences that AJ had to do, and then Usyk since has got obviously them to come up. The WBA have confirmed to us that Daniel Dubois is next in line. Obviously he has to beat Kevin Lerena. He would be next in the rotational system. Then it's the IBF, then it's the WBO, and that would be Joe Joyce. But ultimately, I think all three are not going to stand in the way of this undisputed fight.
You mentioned there Daniel Dubois, a tricky fight against Kevin Lerena, somebody moving up in one of the last couple of fights, moved up from cruiserweight, tricky, awkward southpaw, fast hands, and a new style. I think it's fair to say this is his toughest test under the stewardship of Shane McGuigan. Yeah,
it's a tough fight. I think people are sleeping on Lerena. I mean, I like him. I think he's quite a nice, you know, I'd like to maybe see if we want to continue working with him. We might have to have a chat with Rodney, win, lose or draw. There's a lot for him here as well. If he wins that title, he takes that shot from Daniel. You know, that's how the WBA works. The holder of that regular title is the mandatory challenger. So the fact that they are next in the rotational system, if that's not enough to kind of emphasise you to try and do everything you can to win this fight, I don't know what else you can do. But Daniel, I expect size, power, it'll get to him. I think it'll be a composed performance, and he'll be efficient in his work as he always is. He's working extremely well with Shane. Everything I'm hearing from the gym is great. I expect him to do something spectacular, and I expect a stoppage.
If he does retain his WBA regular title, and as you've mentioned there, hang on to that mandatory position with the WBA, when do you think that it's likely would he be, you know, in line to fight the winner of Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk, if indeed that does take place next year?
Well, if the winner of the Undisputed wants to retain all their titles, they will have to fight the WBA next. That is the current rotational structure that all these governing bodies have been working under. What happens after the Undisputed, I don't know. I mean, what you can say is if you look at history, a lot of the times that a fighter's won the Undisputed, they've then subsequently either, you know, vacated titles or moved on and looked at other opportunities. I'm not going to know what the winner's going to do until after that. You know, particularly if it's Tyson, we've got more obviously say-so and control on that. Make my life a lot easier if obviously he wants to fight Daniel or Joe then Daniel next, because it's in-house fights that we can do quite easily. But Tyson's got to beat Derek first, Daniel's got to beat Kevin, then Tyson's got to beat Usyk. So there's a lot that's still ifs and buts. Let's just go through Saturday first.
What constitutes success for the pay-per-view? One or two eyebrows raised at the price point. $26.95 means it's the equal most expensive pay-per-view in this country. What constitutes success with regards to pay-per-view buys?
The number that we need to cover the costs of the event. That's it.
Which is?
Which is none of your business. I know that you'd love to know, but no, it's not. Yeah, I'm not going to disclose numbers. Look, the price point's set by the broadcast. It's not my decision. I get why they're doing it, though. Tyson Fury is the #1 heavyweight in the world. That price has already been set by the market now. If Anthony Joshua or Oleksandr Usyk are justifiably at that price point, how can Tyson Fury not be?
Elsewhere on the undercard, one of the brightest talents in British boxing, Karol Itauma, the 2018 Youth Olympic gold medalist, returns. I'm very excited about his progression. I'm sure you are too.
He's a great fighter. Really, really, really capable kid. I think he's going to go a long way. Also like Royston on the card as well. Royston Barney Smith will be a significant player in the future of British boxing. I really like him.
As well as Karol Itauma, I saw a certain Enriko Itauma here today, fresh off winning the World Youth Gold. He's obviously won the Europeans earlier this year, won with 4 first-round knockouts in the Europeans, 1 or 2 whispers that he might be joining his brother Karol over at Queensberry Promotions. What can you tell me about that, George?
Nothing. Nothing. What do you want me to say?
Well, whether you could clarify those rumours or not.
I'm going to clarify anything. You shouldn't listen to rumours, that's all I'll say.
Watch this space.
Maybe, let's see.
And just finally from me, great fight in the new year. So January tends to be, I mean, you've been in boxing a long time. Generally speaking, there's not an awful lot going on in January, but there is a certain Beterbiev, the unified light heavyweight champion, fighting our very own Anthony Yarde. Brilliant fight, one I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah, so you're going Beterbiev, I'm going Beterbiev, because I watched something the other day and that's what he was asked. That's what he asked to be called. So just remember when he's in town, I think it is Beterbiev. But anyway, I think it's an amazing fight. I'm really happy that we've done it on BT Sport instead of on pay-per-view. You know, a lot of people probably expected that's where we were going to go. We made the judgment to do it on that because of a number of reasons, but I think that if Anthony can do what we hope he can do on that night, I think this is the fight that turns him into a real big time fighter in this country, a big superstar. He's got to do it first. I know a lot of people don't fancy him in the fight. We think he can do it. We're fully behind him. I think that he has shown glimpses of his capabilities at world level that give me enough conviction to say that I think he's going to do this.
Where would that rank among British boxing upsets? If he is to be Artur Beterbiev or Beterbiev, where would that rank?
So I don't know if it's an upset for me. I think people are sleeping on him. I think that he is... Tyson's shouting. I think that he is a world-class fighter. Always have. I really like Anthony as a person, as a boxer. Everything about him. He's just got a great professionalism with him. People underestimate the challenge that he took on going down to Chelyabinsk against Kovalev that time. Right? That was something that no one really in his position, with the level of amateur fights that he'd had, with the experience that he'd had at the time, anyone was expecting him to do. And yes, you know, he was shown at times that he needs to improve his boxing abilities to kind of perform at that level. But having said that, there are also times in that fight where he showed that he has the power, and if he can bring that discipline in future, he has the capabilities to dance with these guys in the top division. And, you know, Beterbiev's been down before. Callum Johnson's done that. Anthony Yarde's a bigger puncher than Callum Johnson, in my opinion. I think he can get to him.
Before I let you go, George, not that I haven't enjoyed speaking to you, of course, but how's your dad? I haven't seen him for a little while. I understand that he's recuperating from a back injury. Well, no, he's had a long-standing back issue. How is he? Is he going to be in town on Saturday night?
We hope so. I mean, he was planning on being today. I'm a last-minute sub, so he got to put up with me today. Look, day by day at the moment, he's just got to kind of rest and recuperate, listen to the doctors. Fingers crossed he'll be there on Saturday.
Okay, well, George Warren, I think it's the first time we've done this. Hopefully not the last. Thanks very much for speaking to ID Boxing. Catch up soon.
Pleasure. Take care.